A bad addiction doesn't have to be related to cigarettes or alcoholic drinks. It is being addicted to any kind of deranged behavior. This is why we can say that everyone has a certain bad addiction, whether they realize it or not. People were always surprised and grossed out whenever I told them about mine, as if smoking an excessive number of cigarettes wasn't disgusting. I simply can't go a single day without consuming a good 50 liters of Coca-Cola. I know what you're thinking right now. This guy must have diabetes. Believe it or not, I have run 100 diabetes tests and not a single one came out positive. I am diabetes-free despite my daily intake of such a huge amount of Coca-Cola for a couple of years now. You might also be thinking that I can't handle this great quantity of gas, but being gassy was rarely a problem I had to deal with. Quitting? I tried that many times, but the more I go without taking my daily dose of Coca-Cola, the crazier I get. It was controlling me, and I was its slave. Days went by, and I met a nice girl, Carla. Carla was my new coworker, and I started having a love interest in her. That's why I decided to ask her out. The next morning, she came to my desk to ask about some details. She was a fresher with not much experience, so I was her source of information. I took the opportunity to ask her for a cup of coffee after work, which she happily accepted. I was filled with excitement. I went home and changed into more comfortable clothes. I texted her the time and address, then I went on my way to the coffee shop. I found Carla there, seated on the terrace of the coffee shop. I greeted her and took a seat in front of her. We had a great conversation where we talked about a variety of topics. We spoke of our ambitions, dreams, values, perspectives, you name it. We talked about literally everything there's to talk about, including addictions. Carla asked me if I had any addictions. I am sure she was asking me if I was an alcoholic or a heavy smoker or maybe a regular gambler. She would never expect what my addiction was. I was reluctant as to whether I should tell her about my Coca-Cola addiction or not. Many of my relationships failed because of this addiction. I was getting attached to Carla, and I knew that telling her might lead me to never see her out of our workplace. Not telling her led to the same result too. I decided to risk it and tell her. I informed her of how I became addicted to this beverage, that I eventually started consuming 50 liters of it. She, surprisingly, accepted it and didn't make a huge fuss out of it. Carla and I went on other dates, and we became official in a short period of time. We fell so deeply in love, and we have become inseparable. But I've got to learn that my habit annoyed her in the long run. The love that I had for Carla was stronger than my addiction. I took quitting to a whole other level. I consulted a psychologist to check if this addiction had a psychological treatment. The first appointment went successfully, and I felt better. My psychologist advised me of reducing the amount of Coca-Cola every day, which worked pretty well. Day after day, I started drinking a lesser quantity. At one point, I was drinking only a liter a day. Totally quitting was the hardest part of my treatment. Carla gave me all the support that I needed through my treatment, and I felt like her love was what I needed to stop this bad habit. Carla and I are married now with 3 kids. I would always recite my story with this crazy addiction at every family or friends gathering. I'd always tell them how love is a miracle, and Carla was mine. I went from being an unhealthy eater to a vegetarian with great eating habits, all because I had Carla in my life. I think everyone needs their own Carla.